Hello, and welcome to the Quantum Fit Podcast. I'm Taylor, and I am your host. This podcast is all about applying the different principles of quantum physics and quantum biology to your health and fitness. This gives us a holistic view of how different environmental factors, such as sunlight or cold, play a major role in your overall health. So I won't just be talking about diet or exercise and developing good habits. If you want to really make lasting changes in how you feel, think, and act, then I'd recommend you try to listen closely and have an open mind to what I have to say. Every day I'll be hitting you with a quick 7 to 15 minute long podcast. I keep it short like this because it makes it both informative and to the point so that you don't feel quite so overwhelmed with information. Also, currently I do not do any kind of advertisements. So instead, I ask that you share this podcast with a friend or family member if you enjoyed the message and gained something from it. I want to be able to spread quality and easy to understand content that everyone can take and use in their own daily lives. I would highly appreciate it. On to today's episode, Breathing in Vitality. As I said yesterday, we are going to go ahead and continue on with the oxygen tension theme for today's episode. We pretty much just covered what it is and why oxygen tension is important. So now let's talk about the main method of directly increasing it. I hinted a little bit at it yesterday, that it's something you can train, and it's in the episode name. Yes, how we breathe and how much we breathe are closely tied to our health outcomes. Very poor health means, that person is over-breathing. Someone in good health has normal breathing. No real issues, there's, no asthma or anything like that. Elite athletes and other, superhumans breathe very, very little. Just changing our breathing patterns directly has an impact on our oxygen tension, as well as carbon dioxide tension and alkalinity or acidity of the blood. Kind of interchangeable there, I suppose. Hyperventilation and overly heavy breathing will actually stress you out, whereas doing the opposite, slowing the breath, taking more shallow breaths, extending the breath, that reduces stress. Not this, taking deep breaths, that's actually a very, very poor way to reduce your stress, unless those are very, very long, deep breaths. The most basic form of breath training I advocate is one where you consciously make your breaths as long as possible. Or at least that's the end goal. First of all, you need to do breathing only through your nose. Start out by exhaling across, 5 seconds or so. You're kind of gently letting the air come out of your nose. Then do a shallow 1 to 2 second inhale through the nose and just keep repeating it for a few minutes. It's really that simple. You could also keep going up until even a half hour, really. Even an hour, although an hour is the most you want to do breath training total in a day. Going over an hour, you might actually run into some overtraining issues. But you keep extending how long you can draw out the exhales and the inhales until you can get, really, really long exhales off of very, very little breaths. In my experience, this is the easiest way to get started and improve your breathing fairly rapidly. It's called the Buteyko method, created by, this is going to be fun, Dr. Konstantin Pavlovich Buteyko. Probably butchered that, but that's all right. Russian doctor. You can also use the training tool I mentioned yesterday, which is called a Frolov breathing device. That's Frolov, Frolov. that can help speed up the process in people with really messed up breathing patterns. The way it works, it basically ends up concentrating you end up breathing into just this little, like through a plastic tube. You actually breathe through your mouth into it, and basically because you keep breathing into it and there's like water in it, basically carbon dioxide ends up getting trapped within the device. So as you keep breathing in and out over time, the device actually builds like a really, really high concentration, well, relatively high level of concentration of carbon dioxide. Nothing toxic or anything that's going to harm you, mind you, but it is enough to actually, rapidly increase your adaptation, increase your, help your breathing, I guess. Just because people that have really, really messed up breathing patterns, sometimes they can't start with the Buteyko breathing. It ends up actually being like too harsh for them. Like they literally can't, they can't not breathe through their mouth, So having a device like this makes it so they can easily start progressing even just a little bit by bit. But anyway, that is just the Buteyko method, the method of actually, the training method, if you will, for actually progressing your breathing progress. But if you actually want to test how well your breathing is, then there's an exercise for it called the controlled pause, or just simply CP. Do some normal nose breathing for 30 seconds. Don't exaggerate anything, just keep it like normal breathing. Then, after the 30 seconds or so is up, doesn't really matter too much. After you take your normal breath in, again, don't make it extra big or make it especially full or anything. You want very normal breath in, and then you're going to fully exhale through your nose and plug your nose with your fingers, and then just count it out. If you can get to 40 seconds, you're probably in decent shape. Probably just have a few complaints. The goal is 60 or higher. Buteyko, again the doctor, found that based on studying the health of his patients and patients of other Russian doctors who use the breathing techniques, and comparing them, kind of matching up their CP and their health across many studies. He basically found a correlation that at or above 60 seconds, diseases were basically non-existent in patients. It was really, really rare to find, serious diseases in people. Like cancer, you couldn't find it. Any kind of inflammatory disease, couldn't find it. Degeneration, couldn't find it. These people were extremely, extremely, healthy. Something else another way you can utilize this breathing is, and this sucks, working out with nose breathing. Trust me on this, it is damn hard to do. Like constantly breathing through your nose. Don't breathe out through your mouth. Naturally when you do especially reps with heavy weight, you naturally want to breathe out through your mouth as you're doing it, with each rep. But try doing it through your nose. You're going to build that carbon dioxide inside you. But, then that's part of what makes it so hard is, when carbon dioxide builds in the body, not only does it increase your desire to breathe, you get kind of what's called air starvation, but it actually jacks your body heat up. So if you sweat a lot before, you'll be soaking the floor of the gym now. And as far as the science, as far as I know, the science isn't yet settled on what the exact mechanisms are for it, but by exposing ourselves to some air starvation over and over again, we can get our bodies to adapt to higher levels of carbon dioxide. We can suddenly tolerate more of it in our blood, which naturally causes us to slow our breathing and keep more carbon dioxide inside of us. There's also the benefit of nitric oxide. Most of the nitric oxide we get is generated within our nostrils. When we breathe in through our nose and drag the nitric oxide down, it will actually cause dilation of the bronchi and bronchioles in the lungs. Excuse me, I don't actually know how the proper way to say that. Bronchioles, I don't know. Anyways, this dramatically increases the surface area within the lungs, making it possible to get more oxygen with less breathing. All right, and then the reported benefits of extreme oxygen tensions from a CP of 90 seconds and beyond appear to be endless. If you can think of something that requires energy to do, you'll be able to do it better when tissues have more access to oxygen. So the best example of this is going to be a person like Wim Hof, the Iceman himself. It's not just the cold that gives him his endurance and durability and, just ability to withstand crazy stuff, crazy athletic stuff. But it's also his breath control. Even, Dr. Buteyko himself said in an interview that he usually only sleeps 2 hours a night, attributing it to his high control pause. I actually read a post from the website of the people who currently hold the patents on the Buteyko breathing method. In this post, it said that Dr. Buteyko was able to do some crazy shit, like healing people with his hands and accessing information telepathically. I'm not so sure on those last two, but we do know that some people have, superhuman qualities. Even just as we, whether it's recent history or more ancient history, there's cases of people that are able to do some really, really wild things that should not be possible. And obviously environmental factors play in, diet plays in, genetics plays in, all that, but if oxygen tension is really that, has that big of an impact on, like Wim Hof or Buteyko, then, it might explain how people get to those, basically legendary levels of health and fitness. Either way, it's an interesting thing to think about, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast episode. If you have any questions and comments, you can find me on Instagram at RealQuantumFit, the Quantum Fit Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, Taylor Kelson, or through a voice message across the Anchor app. See ya!